This video is not sponsored by Bright Data because we have a conscience. Just to let you know. Welcome back to LEGO Wars and Heat M of Series 6. Last time out we saw another Siege shocker as 23 Red lost it all on gambling against Bolts, while Luchador and Mingo impressed with some solid performances. Tonight it's the turn of the 4th seed's Ganymede to tear up the opposition after a strong run took them within a fight at the grand final last year. They line up alongside the original Jevon build Shatterstar, hoping to make it out the heats one more time before retirement. Let's see who else will join them tonight.
First, from Norwich and seeded number 4, Ganymede.
Last year's 4th place finishers return with a complete rebuild and a ferocious looking Drisk to deliver more destructive damage.
From East Harlingen seeded number 25, Shatterstar.
Despite a horrendous run in the heats last series, Shatterstar retains a seeding for winning All-Stars, but it remains to be seen if those battery issues are truly fixed.
From Hull, Chomp Romp.
Another robot calling time after Series 6, Chomp Romp has yet to make it out of the heats, but after Bolt's heroics last week they could be inspired to pull off an underdog result.
From Gloucester, Nibbler.
With Nova being unable to get their pneumatics running, Nibbler has taken their spot as rookies tonight, armed with a small but effective looking horizontal bar.
From Newry in Northern Ireland, Weldor M.
This was originally Whack-a-Natten when the final draw was made, however it needed more time for upgrades after a poor Series 5 campaign, so Weld-Dor has been pushed into service once more to complete the lineup. We'll begin the action tonight with the 4th seed's Ganymede planning out some target practice against the flailing Roomba of Chomp Romp.
Roboteers, stand by. 3, 2, 1. Activate.
Away we go then for our penultimate heat of LEGO Wars Series 6, and we start off then with Ganymede, the 4th seeds in LEGO Wars this time round, losing semi-finalists last time to Slamo, the eventual champions, then lost of course to Quantum in the 3rd place playoff. They take on Chomp Romp, have never had the success of Ganymede, certainly not to that scale, getting into the top 4, but they are a fun competitor. They are a 3-year veteran at this point. Last time around they did pretty well. They got a few wins here and there, but they've never had great success. I don't think they've ever escaped the heat. But, you know, they are a fun entry nonetheless, and they've got a good, big, spinning, flailing weapon on the top, and they are quite annoying to defeat, actually. They're not an easy robot to knock out, certainly. Decent dry train too, but Ganymede here, the redesign, as you can see, looks very much like Gizmo from the UK Beetleweight scene, or a whole host of Beetleweight drum egg beater spinners from NHRL as well. It's a bit of a beast, is that kind of design. It's certainly one of the more meta designs in robot combat currently, and Ganymede have taken lots of inspiration from that. It looks pretty good thus far. You have to say the 4th seeds have come back with the intention and purpose here of trying to improve on their rankings from last time round, and judging from the early evidence of this, looking pretty good to do so. Chomp Romp, high centred, I think, stuck on a piece of its own armour paneling that's been ripped away. Ganymede pushes them onto the arena floor spikes. They get away from there, but Ganymede comes back in for another glance, another shove, and another push. The weapon, though, of Ganymede has stopped momentarily, though. Is that okay, I wonder? Has it been disabled, maybe, from the impacts with Chomp Romp? Chomp Romp, like I said, I don't think it's ever made it out of a heater, though it may well have done. I may have forgotten. Yeah, so far have survived pretty well. Have Chomp Romp. Ganymede certainly on top, though. Looking pretty good at the moment. Also third-year veterans as well. They entered LEGO Wars in the same series, Series 4. Like I said, the Ganymede has had enormous meteoric rise to the cream of the crop, and Chomp Romp certainly has not, and Chomp Romp's weapon has been completely removed now by Ganymede. Ganymede is the one in the ascendancy here. There goes the weapon of Chomp Romp, completely torn apart now. Chomp Romp is still mobile though, and like I said, it is kind of annoying to try and knock out his Chomp Romp. It's a robust little cylinder, I suppose. It is a very thin cylinder, isn't it, in some regards. Time ticking away here, and you have to say Ganymede haven't been able to finish Chomp Romp off. Oh, Ganymede, what have you done? They drove straight towards the pit, and Chomp Romp, what an upset! Ganymede down the pit. Chomp Romp gets the victory right to the death. 3 points to Chomp Romp. Wow, I'm stunned. It was all looking so good for the 4th seed, wasn't it? They were absolutely bodying Chomp Romp in the early stages of the fight, and it just seemed like a routine victory. Okay, they didn't get the knockout that they were hoping for, but time was ticking away, and you just kind of thought, oh, okay, well, slow start to the heat, but Ganymede's going to win this one easily. But they absolutely scored a massive own goal here, drove straight towards the pit, realised too late, Chomp Romp capitalised for all 3 points.
And we can go live to outside the shed, and yes, Rob is posing in despair after that horrendous bit of driving to give Chomp Romp 3 points. I'm really hoping this isn't going to be another night of despair, so let's see how the veterans Shatterstar and Weld-Dor get on.
Roboteers, stand by. 3, 2, 1. Activate.
Away we go then for fight number 2 of the night, and it's the return of 24th seed Shatterstar. Of course, last time round they had a horror show of a main competition. Did Shatterstar? They finished on 1 point and were eliminated from the heat as the then 4th seeds. Retaining a seed this time, however, because of their performances in the off-season. Of course, they did very well in LEGO Wars Champions. They made it to the final of that competition. And of course, they were, I believe, also winning previous All-Stars champions as well, Shatterstar. And of course, let's not forget Weldor M here. They were never meant to be back in the competition this time around either. They are back on account of another robot not making it in time via shipping around the country, but at the moment they may as well not have turned up. Weldor M, they're being counted down and counted out. They're stuck on the screws. Down comes the hammer of Shatterstar, and already Shatterstar has improved on last series. They've got more points than they did last time around. 3 points on the board for the 24 seeds, and that is much more like it from Shatterstar. Well, the fight was over before it really got going, wasn't it? Shatterstar came down with the hammer a couple of times, but it was this big push here that stopped Weldor M in its tracks. It got it caught in the screws, look, and down came the hammer a few more times to stop any response from Weldor M. Shatterstar, perfect start to the heat, and 3 points on the board.
Weld-Dor is well and truly jammed on the screws, meaning Shatterstar already has secured more points than its entire Series 5 campaign. Meanwhile, Ganymede is out for blood after their calamities in the first round as they take on Nibbler.
Roboteers, stand by. 3, 2, 1. Activate.
Our final entry into the heat this week then is Nibbler. As you can see, it's a rookie machine, a horizontal spinner with the weapon at the front. It's kind of a pseudo-sequel to Fabulous Jeff, I suppose, in some ways. Let's hope it does as well as Fabulous Jeff did in the arena in its earlier years in LEGO Wars. Maybe not in its latter years, certainly not in Series 5. That was a bit of a awkward performance for them, wasn't it? But Nibbler, another one-day build, so I'm told. So very much a hastily put-together machine. But we saw how that worked out for, who was it a couple of weeks ago? It was Antithesis, wasn't it? It was a one-day build, and, well, maybe not the same kind of build quality as Antithesis. There goes part of the drive system of Nibbler, and I think it's going to be a much, much needed recovery here for Ganymede. They, of course, lost that first fight. I think they were absolutely in control in that first fight right until they weren't, but I think they're going to win here, although that has to be said, Nibbler has caused some damage here to Ganymede, because look at it, Ganymede's not tracking happily at all. It's kind of bent and buckled at the front. It doesn't really matter though. Nibbler immobilised, they've been counted down, they've been counted out.
6.
And Ganymede gets a much needed 3 points on the board. A very rude awakening and debut then for Nibbler. In the end, it was Ganymede's experience and complete control of the situation that gave them the victory. Although it has to be said, They did inflict some pain on the seeding machine, did Nibbler. They were able to bend that front end look there, but the drive system came apart. They'll have to hope that doesn't happen too often for them. Ganymede, though, getting the win in the end.
Somehow we nearly ended up with 2 split robots in the arena, but Nibbler's battery ejection curtails their first fight, giving the 4th seeds 3 points. Now it's on Chomp Romp to show it wasn't a fluky win against Weld-Dor.
Roboteers, stand by. 3, 2, 1, activate.
Off we go then for fight number 4, then Chomp Romp and Weldor M, and there's damage already as the top panel of Weldor M has come flying off. Went vertically in the air, but has landed safely, although it has to be said has landed underneath Weldor M's chassis. Look at that, the wheel of Weldor M has come off as well. Maybe there was more damage in that initial impact than we thought. Chomp Romp up to speed, already on 3 points in this heat, and has the opportunity here to move on to 6 here with a win over Weldor M. Weldor M circling on one wheel at the moment is going to really struggle to get back into the fight now. Weldor M, like I said, they were a late call-up for a reserve spot, basically, but they are in a world of trouble, and they were probably hoping they just never bothered turning up, because it's not gone well at all for Weldor M here. It's a sad, sad situation for them. Chomp Romp in the ascendancy here. Weldor M circling on one wheel still, although they've stopped now. They're still able to translate. Yes, they are. Chomp Romp nudges Weldor M towards the pit. We know what's coming. They've been lined up. Weldor M, can they get away in time? No,
6.
they can't. Down the pit, and it's a win once again for Chomp Romp. I do wonder if this is the result of the initial contact between the two. The wheel working its way loose. It got stuck on top of its own armour panel, and then the wheel comes off right about now. And from then on in, it was only ever going to end in one result, really, wasn't it? Chomp Romp had control of the fight. Weldor M couldn't get away and get out of its own circumference. The pit was opened by Chomp Romp, and another 3 points for Chomp Romp puts them on 6 out of a possible 6.
You know, it was already bizarre having Chomp Romp on 3 points before now, but it's absolutely ludicrous that they're now on 6 and look likely to make it out of the heats for the first time. There's tougher opponents ahead of them though, and one of them is up now as Shatterstar faces Nibbler.
Roboteers, stand by. 3, 2, 1, activate.
Second fight of the night then for both Shatterstar and Nibbler, of course, contrasting fortunes in their first fights. The 25th seeds, of course, winning via knockout, getting Weldor M stuck on the screws, of course. Nibbler, I mean, their debut in LEGO Wars was suboptimal, wasn't it? Let's face it, their drive side came completely off and was separated from the entire chassis of the robot, but they've got that repaired. They're back in action now, taking on Shatterstar. Can they bring that weapon into play on those tracks, I wonder? Shatterstar will be very aware that will be the tactic of the rookies, try and bring their spinning bar into play. Those teeth at the front of the wedge of Shatterstar coming off. Down goes the pit, activated by Shatterstar. Of course, 3 points on the board already, bettering their total last year threefold. Shatterstar in their first outing in this series. They're taking on a rookie in Nibbler, who I think did pretty good in its first fight. We didn't really get to see much of it, but we saw damage potential, certainly. They caused problems for Ganymede, didn't they? The rookies entering LEGO Wars for the first time, taking on a seasoned veteran at this point in Shatterstar. A former 4th placer in their own right, a winner of the All-Stars as well. And making the final of LEGO Wars Champions, if you remember that mini-series as well. In goes Shatterstar once again, using that wedge at the front to stop. Nibbler coming in on the attack. Nibbler now pinned against the arena sidewall. Can they get away? Yes, they can. Weapon up to speed once more. Very, very quick around the arena is Nibbler. Very agile. You'd think they'd be able to test those tracks of Shatterstar more than they're currently doing, although it has to be said, Shatterstar driving very, very well to keep their opponents away from the tracks at the moment. Down comes the hammer again, into the top of Nibbler. Nibbler reverses and backs into Shatterstar, keeping the rear end towards Shatterstar. That is maybe a better tactic, try and keep that weapon away and try and sort of thagomize them to death, but at the moment not really seeing that tactic come into play. There was a shot, but it didn't get the track of Shatterstar there, Nibbler. Maybe there'll be a missed opportunity that'll count against them. Should we go to time, or will they go to time? Good push here from Shatterstar. And Nibbler digging in for dear life. The rookies on the lip of the pit, but they get away just about. Still caught between a rock and a hard place, but they get away. That was good driving there from the rookies. Managed to escape almost certain defeat, and now they've pinned Shatterstar against the inner side wall. Can they bring that weapon into play on Shatterstar? They do, but they miss the track again. That could cost them again should it go to time. You can see there the chassis bowing a little bit. Shatterstar, as the fight going on, is starting to wear down. We're going to go to time between the two, I think, and look, the chassis again of Nibbler coming apart. But they're going to survive to the clock and the judges. Well, a late scare for Shatterstar there, but we're going to time between these two. And usually I think both robots here will be disappointed not to walk away with 3 points. Shatterstar, certainly the aggressor in the early stages and for the majority of the fight, it has to be said. Nibbler's weapon did cause damage, but only very minor damage, to the teeth on the wedge of Shatterstar. Shatterstar did get them turned around and push them towards the pit, but couldn't quite get the rookies down. They drove well to escape from there. Nibbler here, a great opportunity to remove the track, but missed their target.
And the winner, by unanimous decision, is Shatterstar. Shades of their win over Tantrum from the 25 seeds as they get a brilliant shot in the chain to stunt Nibbler's weapon and take a fine second at half time. Meanwhile, for poor old Weld-Dor, their substitute duties don't appear to be getting any kinder as they face the 4th seeds Ganymede.
Roboteers, stand by. 3, 2, 1. Activate.
Halfway through the heat then, how would you assess both Ganymede and Weldor M thus far? Ganymede, I'm going to give them a D. They lost via knockout to Chomp Romp, but they did get a good KO victory against Nibbler, although Nibbler killed themselves. Weldor M, meanwhile, the wheel comes off once again. That is suboptimal, and there goes the weapon as well of Weldor M. Oh, I was going to give them I was going to give them an F, but I'm going to give them a U now. They haven't bothered turning up for the exam. Oh, dearie me. Weldor M completely destroyed. And I said in a previous fight, I bet they wish they stayed at home. I really bet they wish they stayed at home now. No points on the board, and it's looking very, very unlikely they're going to get anything out of this fight against the 4 seeds Ganymede, who have turned their heat around in some style, it has to be said. They started slowly, but they've really, really started to hit a good stride now. And Ganymede, with a win here, will lift them onto 6 points. And I don't know if it quite guarantees them at least a play-in berth, but they won't be far off, will they? Let's face it. And Weldor M, I think, will be out of the competition. I think, in fact, they will be out of the competition at this stage if they lose this fight by a knockout. So it's not looking good if you're a Weldor M enjoyer. The veterans of LEGO Wars, been around since the very beginning, of course. But I think at this stage, they have been hopelessly outclassed at this level. And Ganymede, well, I mean, like I said, this is one of the very highest level robots. It's the 4 seeds for LEGO Wars this series. They've come on very strong in the last couple of fights. Okay, they started poorly against Chomp Romp, but they've really started to crank it up in the last couple of fights, and it looks like a robot the 4th seed should be, Ganymede in the ascendancy here. Weldor M still trying their best to translate across the arena, and to be fair to them, they are still technically mobile, but I don't think they've got any kind of hope in this fight, although they haven't been knocked out yet. Strange things have happened. Robots have driven down the pit under less pressure. Ganymede comes in on the attack again. Maybe a rogue spike turns off a battery or something. You never know. Bullied into the corner once again is Weldor M. They're trying to get away from that corner. In fact, a piece of armour is broken off, and I think they've high-centred themselves on it. And Ganymede spinning in delight because Weldor M cannot get away now. They're being counted down and counted out. It's a sad end for Weldor M. Beaten once again in LEGO Wars. Defeated in the heats once again in LEGO Wars. And it's a shame to see a veteran go out like that. But Ganymede, what a victory. And what a performance from the 4th seeds. Whatever Weldor M's tactics were in this fight, they were basically out of the window within the first few seconds of the fight. The wheel breaking off once again, shortly followed by the spinning weapon of Weldor gone as well. And from then on in, it was just open season for Ganymede, wasn't it? The 4 seeds picking apart Weldor M, bullying it into the corner where they weren't able to escape, a rogue armor panel getting stuck in underneath the robot so it couldn't translate any further, and that was all it took for 3 points for Ganymede.
Ganymede leaves nothing on the table this time as a very sorry looking Weldor M is left in a corner and out of contention. The 4th seeds remain on the bubble in 3rd though and eagerly await the result of the next fight to see what's at stake in the seeds clash later on. This is the 3rd encounter between Shatterstar and Chomp Romp, and on previous occasions it was the axe spot that bullied Chomp around the arena and down the pit. But with this strange determination the Flarebot has shown tonight, this could be finally their time to get revenge.
Roboteers, stand by. 3, 2, 1, activate.
How would you grade these two then as they get to their 3rd fight of the night? Chomp Romp, I'm going to give them an A+. They're on a 6 points out of a possible 6 and therefore should be considered as such as to have done a perfect job. They've won both fights by knockout, you can't really complain at them. Shatterstar, the 25th seed, I'm going to give them an A as well. They've won 1 fight via knockout and 1 via JD. So yeah, give them an A as well. Both robots looking pretty good as things stand at the moment to qualify from the heat, although things can drastically change. As we know in LEGO Wars, it's never a foregone conclusion, is it, that either of these two will go through at this stage. I will say, if Chomp Romp wins this fight via knockout, they will not be able to be caught by anyone, which is quite the achievement as well for Chomp Romp. So there is a possibility we could see a heat winner crowned after this fight. Down comes the hammer of Shatterstar a couple of times on top of Chomp Romp. Chomp Romp up to speed now and chasing down Shatterstar. Shatterstar goes for the pit button. They think they've got the measure of Chomp Romp. Pushing back Chomp Romp towards the arena spikes, and down comes the hammer again. They've stopped the weapon of Chomp Romp. Chomp Romp now spins up to speed once more. Good push back there from Shatterstar though. Chomp Romp digging in and trying to push Shatterstar back. Shatterstar retreats and comes back into action once again, stopping the Chomp Romp spinner from getting too far up to speed. Chomp Romp pushed again around the arena floor and towards the screws, into the corner by the screws, and down goes the hammer into Chomp Romp. Chomp Romp spinning on the spot but not really doing very much with that capability. Good push again by Shatterstar. Down comes the hammer. Good push again though from Chomp Romp. They are certainly equal to, if not better than, Shatterstar in terms of drive, power and pushing ability, but I will say geometry-wise, Shatterstar is probably the superior pusher of the two, and Chomp Romp is pushed towards the pit, and Chomp Romp almost drive down the pit themselves, and Shatterstar have turned the fight on its head. Chomp Romp on the lip of the pit. Shatterstar stands off and down the pit goes Chomp Romp. It isn't a heat victory at this moment in time, but Shatterstar picks up 3 points. That is the first real stumble we've seen from Chomp Romp thus far, although Shatterstar, it has to be said, were in control of the fight, I felt, throughout. They were able to stop the weapon of Chomp Romp spinning up too often and stop it from getting a real head of speed, and good driving throughout from Shatterstar. This has been a much marked improvement over their performance last series. Chomp Romp caught by the pit and eventually bullied down it by the 25th seeds.
Chomp Romp comes crashing back to Earth as Shatterstar near enough secures their place in the bracket. At the bottom of the table, though, our battered subs Weld-Dor might be having their final fight in the series against the Nibbler, needing points to keep their challenge alive.
Roboteers, stand by. 3, 2, 1, activate.
Away we go then for fight number 8, Weldor M's final fight, potentially in LEGO Wars history, but of course they're taking on Nibbler, who I would rate, I'd say a D. To be fair, they got a point on the board, which is good for the rookies, and they've fought both of the seeds already, and that's probably the 2 toughest fixtures in the heat at the moment. So Nibbler can be happy with a point on the board. Weldor M, as we know, already out of the competition on 0 points. They don't want to go pointless in their final ever appearance, potentially in LEGO Wars history, which would be a real shame for them, the stalwart veterans. Nibbler, though, has looked pretty impressive throughout the night. There's been moments where you've squinted and thought, yeah, this is a really good, or potentially a really good robot. But they're high centred there on part of Weld-Dor's Shatter. They've dismantled, but they've got away now after a friendly nudge from their opponents, the rookies and the veterans in the arena together. Up to speed once again goes both weapons, and I think Nibbler at the moment probably just about on top, causing more damage to Weldor M. There goes another armor panel off of Weldor M. Weldor M hoping to not go pointless. As I said, they're on 0 currently after 3 fights. This is their last opportunity to get any points on the board. Weapon to weapon once again between Nibbler and Weld-Dor M. Weld-Dor M activates the pit button. They think they've got what it takes to drive their opponents down the pit. We'll have to wait and see if that happens. Weld-Dor M, though, has just suddenly stopped in the middle of the arena, and Nibbler is still working. Weld-Dor M, is everything okay with Weld-Dor M? I don't think it is. And I think at this point, they are going to go home with no points. It's a real shame. Only the 3rd robot this series to go home with 0 points, Weld-Dor M. But they are beaten and no points on the board. Nibbler get a vital 3 points for their own campaign. Weld-Dor M joins Blue and Positively Hysterical as the only robots thus far this series to have 0 points from their 4 fights. It's a real shame for the stalwart veterans, but on the flip side of this coin, you have Nibbler, a rookie who have now moved on to 4 points and have a real chance now of maybe even getting into the bracket with some fight results going their way. Could have pulled themselves out of the mire with that one.
Finishing on 0 points feels incredibly harsh on Weldor M after the long career they've had, but at least they have made it through all 4 fights and can finally rest in peace knowing they put up a good fight. For Nibbler though, they are in touching distance of the top 3 and have a chance to break Chomp Romp's fairy tale run should they get the KO.
Roboteers, stand by. 3, 2, 1. Activate.
Our penultimate fight of the night then sees Nibbler taking on Chomp Romp, and here are your heat permutations for you then. Nibbler, if they win via knockout, guarantee themselves a play-in berth. Same goes also for Chomp Romp, although actually no, if Chomp Romp wins via knockout, they will finish in a guaranteed 2nd place, because on countback, even if Ganymede wins its final fight via knockout, it means that on countback, Chomp Romp wins the heat. So, yeah, it is all to play for. Chomp Romp, a guaranteed victory here, gets them into the bracket, although thus far, you have to say Nibbler coming on very strong late on in this heat. Started slowly, the rookies. They had issues with their drive system falling apart, but at the moment they're causing all kinds of damage to Chomp Romp here. Chomp Romp, who started so strongly, kind of having the inverse effect towards the end of the heat. Nibbler here absolutely causing carnage to Chomp Romp, and an entire side panel of the chassis has gone now. Nibbler here has woken up and chosen violence in its last 2 fights. A win here via knockout will leave them on 7 points, which guarantees them 3rd place in this heat, which would be quite an achievement if they're able to do it. After losing their first 2 fights via knockout, of course, Chomp Romp, meanwhile, kind of limping to the line here. It's a very, very good opportunity for Chomp Romp to get their own bracket spot, but Nibbler at the moment playing party pooper to the chain chomp in the arena. Nibbler's weapon up to speed again. You can't really see it on the camera because it's spinning so quickly. It's causing all kinds of damage now to Chomp Romp, and Chomp Romp unbalanced. It doesn't look very happy translating around the arena either, does it? But it is still working in this fight. Chomp Romp in all kinds of bother. Damage sustained once again on Chomp Romp. Look at the chassis, it's all broken and twisted. In fact, the entire outer ring of Chomp Romp has completely gone now. Chomp Romp, I've never seen Chomp Romp damaged quite like this before. Nibbler here, putting on an absolute clinic against their opponents, but Chomp Romp is still running and is still working, and they will be conscious of that. They can take it to time and get a point on the board. It means they are guaranteed 3rd place, because, of course, Nibbler won't be able to catch them, but the damage output that Nibbler is giving at the moment is sensational. It wouldn't shock me if they try and go for the knockout here. A win for Nibbler guarantees them 3rd place, maybe even 2nd if results go their way in the final fight of the night. Good push again by Nibbler, trying to get Chomp Romp towards the pit, maybe push it down the pit and finish it off with the coup de grace, but good driving from Chomp Romp at the moment, keeping themselves out of trouble. But there goes a wheel, but they have still got a drive side working on the other side, because they've got 2 wheels on either side. We're going to go to time between the two. The fight has flown by, in truth, but there is only going to be one winner here, and that is going to be Nibbler. But Chomp Romp has done enough to take it to the buzzer, and it guarantees them at least 3rd place in this heat with that guaranteed defeat point. Would you believe, after the end of that fight as well, it means that Nibbler can only finish in 4th place in this heat, even with results going their way. A judge's decision victory is not enough for them to breach into the top 3 of this heat, so they will finish 4th in this heat. Chomp Romp, meanwhile, they are guaranteed to finish at least 3rd. They could finish 2nd if results go their way, but this was a rude awakening for them. A sterling performance in the end from Nibbler.
And the winner, by unanimous decision, is Nibbler. They absolutely destroyed Chomp Romp but could not finish the job, so Nibbler's going to have to wait and see if they make the play-ins in a couple weeks' time. Before that though, we have the seeds clash ahead of us, and with Shatterstar already progressing into the bracket, it's up to the 4th seed's Ganymede to ensure we don't have another high seed in the play-ins.
Roboteers, stand by. 3, 2, 1. Activate.
Away we go then for the final fight of the night. The 2 seeds clash. Seed number 4, Ganymede, taking on seed number 25, Shatterstar. Here are your heat permutations then. Going into this fight, a victory via knockout will win Ganymede the heat on 9 points, although Shatterstar will try and stop that from happening. A victory via JD for Ganymede is enough to get them into 2nd place above Chomp Romp. Any other result is not enough for Ganymede to get out of 3rd place. They are guaranteed to finish 3rd, so a play-in berth is already secured, but they need a result of some description to better that, and it needs to be a victory as well. Shatterstar, meanwhile, they can win the heat with any other result other than a knockout defeat. If they lose via JD, it will put them onto 9 points, which it means that Ganymede can't catch them because they can only get a maximum of 8. If they lose via knockout, then they are still guaranteed to finish at least in 2nd place. So that's good stuff for Shatterstar as into the pit button is pushed Ganymede. Ganymede has caused damage to Shatterstar. Look, the wedge at the front is coming slightly loose. That's a good push though from Shatterstar. They've almost got Ganymede into the pit. Of course, Ganymede, if they don't win the fight, it means they are going to go into the play-ins, and Chomp Romp will finish 2nd in this heat. And Shatterstar trying to make sure that happens. Ganymede stuck now, caught by the pit button and by the pit. Can they get away from that corner? They're not really translating at the moment. And it's a big nudge from Shatterstar, who wins the fight and wins the heat in some style. And the 4th seeds are beaten. It seemed a little bit nervy going into the early exchanges. Shatterstar did get a good shot off behind Ganymede early on. Ganymede eventually getting a big hit here sooner rather than later, where the entire front end of Shatterstar kind of comes loose. There it was. Look, it kind of bends and buckles it to one side, but Shatterstar didn't bulk under the pressure. They pushed the pit button with Ganymede on top of their wedge and eventually pitted the 4th seeds. Great return to form then for Shatterstar.
Another masterful performance from Shatterstar means they end the night on top to vanquish the ghosts of their poor Series 5. This heat truly shows how a single fight can completely change the trajectory of a campaign, as Ganymede's last second slip out has directly consigned them to the lottery of the play-ins, while Chomp Romp almost undeservedly finishes ahead in 2nd. Nevertheless, they have made it, and looking at the field we have in the bracket, we're in for a wild ride in the knockout stages. That is all from us tonight, but join us next time for the final heats as the runners-up from the last 2 series, Duck and Kraken, are out to claim the final bracket places. For now though, I've been your host David Smeg, and we'll see you in the next one.
Oh god. So, they've both been splayed. Turn the other way.
Oh my god.
Ooh. There goes the battery.
Oh, you killed us now. Yeah, drive back, she's gone, I'm dead.
10, 9, 5, 1, dead.
Oh.